Well, now that we've seen the 3D mammography unit in the hospital, I'm really excited that we're here at the Coach. So, Sandy, tell me, I understand that we used to share the Coach with another facility. Is that correct?
That is correct. And now we own it full time. So we'll be coming out to the community every week.
Every day, whenever. So we have it full time.
We do.
And so we'll be going throughout the community, throughout Brunswick County. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, today we've got it stationed here at the hospital, but typically it would be out in the community. So let's talk about some of the typical locations where it might be in service.
Well, right now they do take it to the health department. They're planning on taking it to some of the churches and the festivals. They're going to make it very convenient for the patients to come to get their mammogram and not have to wait and make a trip to the hospital for their mammogram.
Yeah, I know that in the past it has visited several meetings and events, and I suppose there'll be many more of those to come since we have it full time now.
Absolutely.
So, well, I know our viewers are anxious to see the inside, so let's talk a little bit about the experience of a patient once they enter. What does that process look like?
Well, they basically just come on in and we interview them. They go through a series of questions and then we take them into the mammo room where they get their mammo. It takes about 10 minutes to go through the whole process.
So you have an area where the patient sits and gives their personal information
Correct.
to one of the techs? Is it a tech that does
to
that?
one of the technologists, or there'll be a register that accompanies the technologist. Yes.
And then they're escorted back to the private area where the mammography takes place.
Yes.
And how about the privacy? Is there, do you lock the door? Is there somebody stationed at the front at all times so people just don't walk in?
That is correct. There is a door, and they do have privacy. Yes. It's completely private.
Completely private.
Completely private.
Okay. Well, the Coach is really nice, and once you're on it, it seems like you're just in another room. It's not like being on a mobile unit. What do patients tell you about their experience?
Actually, they're really surprised when they walk in. They're like, wow, this is really nice, and they make themselves comfortable. There's a nice couch where they can sit, go through some magazines if they have to wait their turn, but most patients are surprised at how nice it is inside.
So you wouldn't have more than, say, 2 patients in there at a time. One may be waiting and one
Correct.
having the actual
Correct.
mammogram?
Correct. While one's having a mammogram, another patient can be interviewed because we try to keep it private.
Okay. So, Sandy, explain to me the process of how patients might find out where the mobile unit is going to be in the community.
Well, they would call scheduling to get an appointment and get the closest location to their needs, to get their exam done.
So it will be the same phone number that they call to schedule a 3D mammogram,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Same number.
And that is
910-721-1485.
Okay. And I believe there's also a website that they can go to?
Yes, and that's the Novant Health website.
I think it's novanthealth.org/pink.
/pink.
How about the insurance requirements or the payments? Are they the same for the mobile mammography as they are for the...
Yes, I do know. Yes, it is the same price.
It's the same rate, same cost. Okay. And the grant funds that are offered by Novant Health, they're still available for the mobile service. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Well, that's an awesome service, and we're so indebted to the Novant Health Brunswick Foundation, the Brunswick Medical Center Foundation, because they've helped to bring these various funds to the community through specific grants as Komen and Pfizer and things like that. So if there are any community grants or community groups out there that are interested in having the mobile mammography coach at an event, who can they contact?
Call scheduling, or they could feel free to call the mammo department and speak to myself or one of the other technologists, and we'd be happy to get them that information.
That's great. So if a woman has had, or a man for that matter, have had the mammography here on the coach, what might be the next step if there's some suspicious?
Well, the next step would be the same as if you had your imaging here at the hospital. The whole point of having a mobile unit is to increase both visibility and access to mammography. breast cancer is a curable disease, especially if we find it at an early stage. So the most important thing is to get that out to the community, let them know, hey, we're here for you, we can take these pictures, we can find it, catch it early. And second, if you have limited access to medical centers, transportation, we can bring it to you. It's that important. You know, there's not a lot of things that are mobile, but mammograms is one of them. And it's for that reason. You catch it early, you cure it. And so we don't have any limitations. You get out there, you get your mammogram done on the mobile unit, and it's the same follow-up, the same algorithm as if you were to have your mammogram done at the hospital.
Oh, that's good to know, yeah.
Yeah, so if there's something suspicious on your mammogram, you'll be contacted by your doctor to be called back in for additional imaging. And those images will be performed at the hospital. So we'll make sure that no one gets lost, you know, to the system or falls through the cracks.
So you mentioned the word suspicious. So walk me through that process. What does that look like if you visualize something suspicious? Tell me about the follow-up.
It's a great question. You know, when we do screening mammograms, a lot of times there are things that catch our eye that we just don't know what it is. And we term that as suspicious, and we're suspicious for cancer. And so what we need to do is figure out what it is. The truth is, most of the time when patients come back for additional imaging, it's not cancer. There's a lot of things that can mimic cancer. The most common is overlapping breast tissue, particularly in women with dense tissue. You get an area of tissue that overlaps with another area of tissue depending on how the breast is positioned between the plates, and it can look suspicious. We bring patients back, we do compression views, we do physical exams, we do ultrasound to get to the bottom of what it is. And most of the time we could solve the problem, say, hey, everything's okay, and then go home and come back a year later. A good point on that line is that the 3D mammograms really decrease those, you know, those overlap, those suspicious findings, and so those callbacks go way down. Other things we see in mammograms are calcifications. You know, the same calcium that's in your bones and your teeth, your vitamins, often gets deposited in the breasts. Most of the time, nothing to worry about. Completely benign. Sometimes it can be an early indicator of cancer. So we need to come back, take better images, magnify those images, do a little problem solving to make sure, you know, that we know what's going on. There are things like masses. You know, you hear the word mass on your ultrasound. It doesn't necessarily mean it's cancer. Simple things like cysts, which are not cancer, never turn into cancer, show up as masses on your mammograms. There are also a few solid masses that aren't cancer as well, fibroadenoma being one of them. So there are a lot of suspicious findings that we see on the screening mammogram that end up being okay. And that's why we do it. That's why we have you come back. So if you get that call back, don't assume it's cancer. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll take care of it. In fact, usually the traditional numbers has been about 30% of those called back are cancer. So the majority, or actually less than that, 30% of those called back get recommended to get a biopsy, and then 30% of those end up being cancer. So the vast majority of cases that get called back for additional workup are not cancer, but we just need to be sure.
Well, that's great news for all of us women out there. Well, Sandy, suppose there's a woman sitting at home on her couch watching TV, and she's over 40, maybe 42, and she's not had a mammogram yet. What would you say to her about why she needs to do this and do it now?
Well, one thing, you shouldn't be afraid to get a mammogram. It's very important to catch things early. It isn't a painful process. We use a gentle touch. You do get compressed, but it is not a painful process. It's very important, and it's more relaxing and comforting to know that everything's okay.
Right.
And your family will appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so important to know. To me, I would rather know.
Correct.
It's better to know than not know. And so I appreciate those words. So thank you both for being here with us today. It's been a pleasure to have you. I've learned a lot. I hope our viewers have. And we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.